Full time at the Etihad Stadium, it's another 3 points for Manchester City, and that's now 18 games won in a row on a Wednesday night. Manchester City 2, Brentford 0, and here to get into all that action are Trevor, Sinclair and Darius Vassell. Trev, I'll come to you. A very complete, a very professional performance and another 3 points on the board.
Yep, clean sheet, no injuries. Few players got minutes on the pitch. I thought they moved the ball very well, they managed the game really well, and yeah, thoroughly professional night.
Yeah, they came out and seemed to start taking more shots, which I know is something we spoke about at half-time. Maybe a little bit unlucky to not have a couple more goals on the score sheet, do you think, Darius?
Yeah, possibly. Obviously, my prediction of 5 goals was a bit off, but they did have the chances to get close to that. But I think, as Trev said, they've got through the game unscathed. Everyone's fit, business as usual, without setting the place alight. Mm-hmm. They've come through the game really comfortably, and then just done the job and move on to the next game now. Well done.
Who were the standout players for you on the pitch today?
For me, it was Sterling. Mm-hmm. We said that first half. I think that he did carry that into the second half. I think for all City's players was 7, around a 7. But I think Sterling had that little bit of an edge. He was causing problems on whichever wing he was playing on, and we full back there. Trev noticed was pulling up his hamstring, I think. So he certainly worked their players. But to be fair, at the end of the night, I think both managers will probably be pleased with the result, which sounds strange, but Brentford have not been embarrassed tonight, and that's going to be important for them going forward.
Absolutely. And I think I just said to you both there, I looked at that Brentford team, and to be fair, it was the same in the return fixture when, we beat them 1-0. Actually, they worked really hard, were incredibly organised. We talked about how difficult they made it. I feel it's probably not a quite fair representation of how good they can be given their recent run of results, Trev.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that's down to lack of clinical finishing going forward. Obviously, Ivan Toney is the big talisman for them. He's not available at the moment through injury or for whatever reasons. I think if they had him in the team, they'd have a lot more threat going forward. They lacked that a little bit tonight, but I thought they stuck to the task. They worked really hard. They've obviously got a very good spirit between themselves. Very humble boys, all work hard for each other, and they've got a good coach. They've done the work on the training ground. You could see there the 5 at the back, and then the 2 shielding players. Making sure that nothing easy goes into the front man, and it's very difficult to break that down. And I think the fact that we got the first goal, I think and it was from their mistake, ironically, that killed their game plan a little bit, and then they had to try and be a little bit more expansive, and they were always going to get caught again. And it was, we were just speaking off air there, there's one little thing you'd like Raheem to be better at, is that one-on-one situations where pick the spot, miss the goalkeeper, hit the goal.
Yeah.
And if he could do that more, I think he'd go to another level. Luckily, the rebound landed at Kevin De Bruyne, and what did he do? He just made a good pass.
Yeah.
He's seen the passing lane into the goal. Good contact, and it was a good finish, and it was game over at 2-0.
I wanted to ask you about that, Darius, because I think that's the one conundrum with Raheem, and I think sometimes he does get a bit of a hard time, and even today with that penalty that he won, that's put him. He's won the most penalties now in the Premier League. But how do you think that he can maybe just get that last moment? Because as well, there's a couple of other chances I think to the Champions League, and there was one I can't remember the game where rolled across the box, tap in, just kind of misses it. Is it a bit of that mentality thing, or do you think just kind of it's just one of those things?
Yeah, it is. It certainly is. I think Trevor's right with that, and it's an instinctive thing for a striker. Once you get the hang of it, they do start rolling in. You start winning penalties, and you grab the ball. You start putting the penalty in yourself, and all of a sudden your goal tallies is going higher and higher, and that is how he gets to the next level. Be more clinical with his end product, because he gets in so many times. He causes so many problems in and around the penalty area that if he had that sort of ice cold finishing at the end of it, I suppose that's probably be the icing on the cake for him as a football.
I think if he does start doing that, I think he'll be the finished article.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you were like, but when I was young, you got a little bit tense, you got a little bit excited in front of goal, and as you get more experience, as you get older, you start to just compose yourself, slow everything down around you, and start picking your finishes better. That still could happen, because what is he, 26, 27?
Yeah.
He's still a relatively young player. So if he can continue to improve and continue to work hard on the training pitch, that could still come. And if the penny drops, he's going to be a world beater.
Yeah, absolute world beater. And I guess that's the point still at the moment, is he's winning the most penalties. He is a fullback's nightmare, as you said at the start of the show. So any time he's on the pitch, he is a nightmare to play against, isn't it? And incredibly strong.
Yeah, definitely. The experience that he's gathering as well. Sometimes people say, oh, he's missing too many chances, and I completely get that. But sometimes you have to miss to develop that coolness.
Yeah.
You go into the next situation knowing that you've been there before. You go to bed at night thinking, I should have done that and I should have done this. And they mount up, and before you know it, I mean, I like to say that like I've done that, but I haven't. That's how it should be, shouldn't it? But before you know it, I'd like to see him, become the finished article and be that probably, one of the best players in the world.
This is what I mean. I think it was another stroke of genius, obviously from Pep Guardiola, as it is every game. But bringing on Gundogan, who is kind of, maybe we talked about that formidable three at the moment, but gosh, what he brings to a game when he comes on either starting or from the bench is such a level of calm. His understanding, Trevor, is phenomenal.
I compare him to a famous watchmaker, the master of complications. He can play simpler, but I think that's taken away from his game a little bit. There'll be a simple pass on there, but he'll be able to. He gets these unusual patterns in his brain, and people switch onto it. And he can pick a pass. He's very clever on the ball, very secure on the ball. It's not like he's gambling with the ball when he complicates things. But he's such a talented player. And again, to be able to bring players like that and Grealish off the bench, fresh legs. The Brentford players must be thinking, oh my God. And then the left back, as we just said there, he's trying to get forward. He's been chasing Raheem all the second half. And then he just pulls up with cramp. It just shows the fitness levels. And not only that, how difficult it is. And it might seem like, City are not creating too many chances in the first half. But we were talking, look at the City players literally staying in their own positions. And the Brentford players are having to go all the way to the left, 20 yards, all the way to the right, step up, drop down. And City are in the same position. Yeah. So, legs-wise, I think we mentioned it. They'd probably have to play another game tonight because they've still got loads in the bank.
It's like they're looking after each other.
Of course they are.
Yeah, you have it.
They've got a difficult game next. Yeah. So why would you put too much and try and get a cricket score here where you could just manage the game properly as they did in a professional manner? No injuries, clean sheet, 3 points. Nice and fresh for Tottenham.
Absolutely. Tell you what, Gundogan's a man after both your own hearts as well, because he's been doing some coaching with our lower age groups at Manchester City, getting his badges, and even for yourselves, I guess for young players to get the insight from players that have played the game and know it so well, it really must be invaluable for them.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I think sprinkling that little bit of experience on the programs that they're currently on and the learning that they're currently having, I think that can be the difference as well. As Trev said at the start of the program, if players see it and hear it often enough, they'll begin to do it themselves. And if you learning off players like that, don't be surprised, like we are seeing today, that you get young players coming through the ranks, getting on the bench for the first team.
Final player I want to quickly highlight is John Stones, not quite in his normal position. I think he was used it right back in the late Leeds game, worked a treat, and I felt today as well it was a really brilliant performance from him.
Comfortable. I mean, he didn't have that much defending to do, it's got to be said. He had the little mistake in the first half where, like Darius said, he checked his shoulder as the ball was on its way. He read the flight of the ball. He got his first touch right, and just at that time when you don't want to slip, he slipped and he gave up an opportunity for the Brentford players. But they dealt with that, and that's very rare. But again, from that mistake, next time he's in that scenario, he'll dig his studs in, make sure there's no slip, and he'll make sure he doesn't make that same error. But all in all, he equipped himself well. And like we talk about the forwards being able to rotate and play in different positions, the defenders can do that as well, so it's a great asset to have.
Absolutely. Well, there we have it, full time at the Etihad Stadium. That is Manchester City 2, Brentford 0. Now, before we look ahead, of course, to our next Premier League game at Carrow Road against Norwich, let's finally find out the results of the games we've been playing throughout the show. We're going to begin with Who's Stat. And I'm going to begin by saying that we had so many people coming in with KDB. And I can tell you that if you are one of those people, and I'm telling you there were loads, Trev being one, there was a lot. Clue number 1 was this player is a Premier League Goal of the Month winner this season. Clue number 2 was this player is a full international for a world top 10 ranked European country. And number 3, this player is a degree in management and business administration. This sealed it for me. Do you think now who it is, Trev?
Oh yeah, you've told me.
Giving away the TV secrets. Of course, the Who's Stat this week is none other than that man, Rodri. Yeah, I only knew that because I was saying about when we signed him from Atletico and even when he came to Manchester, he was staying on the university campus while playing for the first team at Atletico Madrid.
Really?
Yeah, stayed in his halls and then came here and had 1 year left to do. And he got it over here. Incredible to see. Now let's take a look at Cryptic City, which I think is everyone's stumped this week, hasn't it? I mean, I've been trying to scroll through the Twitter and the WhatsApp and we didn't even have that many guesses of the right answer, so producer Darrell is going to be very happy with himself. Can now reveal. Do you want to know the answer?
Why not?
The answer is Colin Hendry. That is the man who we're doing it. And now when I break it down, We had we have Colonel with the violin for Lynn, Colin. Hen, you were spot on.
Yeah.
Dry. Hendry, there you go. Colin Hendry, absolute legend. Beautiful shirt that as well he's got on
Lovely.
there. Producer Daryl, you win. Cryptic City this week, well played. We'll have more of them next week, of course. Match of the day, Matchday Live will be back with you for the Norwich game. And as we look ahead to that game, we wanted to open a little bit of debate before we finish. That will, of course, be infamous to some big wins. None other than a Carlos Tevez hat-trick, of course, when he returned from that break. So I wanted to ask you if you could make the case for Aguero versus Tevez. Whose would you take first? Maybe Darius, I'm going to go with you.
I've got to take one of the players.
Yeah.
Aguero.
You're going to go Aguero. Why?
Aguero.
Why so?
Because I obviously coach now. I coach back now at Wolves. And Aguero is one of the players that we do look at in terms of his movement. Obviously, when he was in his heyday and in his prime, we did a lot of work, pulled up some of his clips, a lot of his clips, and delivered to the young players. We didn't do that with Tevez. We could have, but we didn't.
Yeah.
So we chose Aguero. So I feel like I need to continue that.
That's fair enough. I mean,
tradition
and when just a little bit more detail on that, because that is something that's always mentioned, obviously, of course, is his movement. And why is his movement so good? Is it because of the positions he takes? Is it because he's unpredictable? What is it about him?
It's a number of things. First of all, you'd say the players that he's got around him to give him the service. You know, in movement always looks good when you've got somebody to put it in the right place. His timing as well. His experience in terms of understanding that as a striker and as a number 9, there are areas where if you actually attack them more often than others, you're going to get your goals. One of them is near post. He was a genius at timing his run at the near post. And those are the things that we're trying to teach young strikers now. As a number 9, you want to be able to go in there and then know where the goals are before you've scored them.
Yes.
And that's how you get the calmness in the moment. That's not to say Tevez doesn't do that or didn't do that. It's just that we definitely did study Aguero for that reason in itself.
Of course, I mean, it's hard to not look at the number of goals Aguero scored, but Trevor Sinclair
Incredible.
for Carlos Tevez.
Yeah,
what have you
just
got for us?
on top of that, Aguero, he had that X factor, didn't he?
He did.
He was a calm guy. He had the barnet. He had the looks. He was a cool guy, and I can imagine him being a nightmare in training, not really wanting to try that much. You know, he didn't want to exert himself too much. But on match day, he was electric, wasn't he? Carlos Tevez for me was the opposite way around. He was all action Jackson. He'd work his socks off for the team, which I love in a striker. You know, we had Paul Dickoff, which was very much cut out the same cloth. He had that where, you know, if he had the bit between his teeth, like we said in the Norwich game, where he'd have a little bit of a sabbatical back home. He came back after playing some good golf, and I say he's playing some good golf because his golf swing celebration, you could tell it was very smooth. So he's been practicing, but coming back and scoring a hat-trick like that, training, being in the right condition, being hungry. I always looked at him as a really kind of a desperate guy to score goals and affect games, and even from his time at West Ham, I just thought, all in all, as an out-and-out striker, not only would he give you goals, not only would he give you that personality, he'd also work his socks off for the team. So that's why I'd go with Carlos Tevez.
I also say as well, and I think most Manchester City fans will, or maybe not, but for me, had he not returned when he did, I don't know if we'd have gone on to win the Premier League that season.
Yeah, I mean, he was massive when he came back, and he looked fresh. I mean, he should look fresh. He's just had 6 months, months in the sun and playing golf and great golf courses, but he did look fresh, and I believe he had a fantastic relationship with the owners of the football club. So it's great that he was brought back to the club. He made up with Mancini, and we got over the line with the league that year. So yeah, fantastic player for the football club.
The final thing I'll say as well, there's an infamous line about Carlos Tevez that came from one of the FIFA games, which is Carlos Tevez with his bulldog-like approach. And you look at the way Pep wants his number 9 to play, you've kind of got to argue actually that maybe Tevez might have been better suited just because of his running and his pressing and his work off the ball was quite something we never really see in most strikers in the Premier League at that time, I don't think.
Yeah, they're quite rare. I think they were quite rare. Obviously, I mentioned one of Manchester City's greats, you know, from yesteryear, Paul Dickoff. Yeah. He had that in abundance. He was a nasty boy, but he still got the important goals as well. But again, it's personality, and I think if you ask any coach what they want to see, they see him on the training pitch, and when they go into the match day and it's a big crowd, you just want to see that personality. Go and express yourself. Don't worry if you make a mistake. Go and get the next ball. Yeah. And I think when you look at players like Tevez and Paul Dickoff, they had that in abundance.
They really, really did. And listen, let's not forget though as well, Sergio Aguero, all-time leading goal scorer. That statue will be outside the stadium very, very soon. So Norwich waits for us at Carrow Road. Final word from you, Darius, on that. Is it just kind of go again and try to do the complete same performance?
I think, it's similar. I think today there was opportunities for there to be more goals, so I think it'd be the same mentality. If they can be a bit more clinical, put some of those chances away, and get through the match unscathed. To see out the season now, they're going to need all of these players to do it. Liverpool aren't going to let them off so easily. And I think that if they can carry on, as Trev described correctly, pick up your points, get yourself home unscathed, and be ready for the next game. It's a great place to be for a team like this.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Thank you so much. And a massive thank you to all our brilliant fans who are watching at home. Thank you for joining us. And please join us again. Remember, with you for every game of the season. The show is all about you and it's for you. It's always an absolute joy. I'll be back with you very soon. Natalie's got you covered for Norwich, so we'll be here now before kick-off, half-time and full-time. Until then, look after yourself and I'll see you soon.